What we have here is a mechanically totaled Porsche, and it's the government's fault. Let's get started. Now, I'm not talking about the federal government. This has nothing to do with the federal government. This is local government, and this is a 1999 Porsche 911 convertible, as you can see. It's been through the ringer, it's dusty, it's dirty, and it's been sitting for 10 years. There's a long story, I'll tell it here in a minute, about the customer's ownership experience, what they went through with the government, and how they inadvertently destroyed this car forever. These are really great cars. I love the 996. For the money, it's a really great sports car that doesn't cost $80 or $90 or $120,000. You can find them for 30, 40, 50 range that are in really good shape. There was a time when this car was brand new. It was sitting on a dealer's lot, and this brought joy and happiness to somebody, a really special car. And now, those days are over. Forever. This car is ruined. Before we dive into all the details, let's give you guys a view of the entire car. Let's take a look. Here we have our 996 911, and you can see right away the bumper is faded and doesn't match the rest of the car anymore. It's almost a pinkish color. It's coated in dust. The wheels are very dirty. The tires are very old. It's not caved in or rusted or beat up, but it's a really, really sad story. We can see the convertible mechanism, all this here. We'll talk about it here in a minute. It is broken. It's unusable. But however this came about, this was attempted to open, something broke, it stopped right there, and you see what the carnage was after all that happened. We do see it is a Carrera. Again, it's very dusty, very dirty, and it appears there may be hope for this car. Unfortunately, there is not. Again, the same story on this side, and then this window is down. I have no idea if it's broken or anything. We don't even need to go that far once I show you what's wrong with this car. Let's let Mrs. Wizard show you guys around the interior, and then we're going to dive into all the bad news. You guys love carnage and bad news? I got it for you here today. I got a lot of it. Take it away, Mrs. Wizard.
That's right. This thing has 155,896 miles. Yikes. That is a lot of miles on this 911, and it is not 6:20 p.m., I guarantee it. So obviously the time needs to be set, but we do have a nice gauge cluster up there. Nothing's broken so far. The dash is looking good. I don't see anything broken or anything, falling apart up there. As we get to our HVAC system, everything looks very straightforward, very simple to use. Got a new SoundStream stereo with a lovely spider on it. Have the ever so efficient cassette holders. Ooh, and there's nothing in any of them. Behind that, we do have more controls for that radio system, which probably no longer goes to this one up here, but they're still there. We do have controls for our heated seat below that, and we do see that this is a automatic car. As we move back, you'll see our e-brake has a nice wood inlay, and we have some little baubles and beads in their cigarette lighter and controls for all four windows. As we look at our seats, they're starting to show a little age. We were seeing a little bit of marking over there, but nothing looking too terrible, nothing that maybe some nice leather treatment could be done to kind of brighten them up. But again, this isn't the biggest problem in the car. The leather is not the problem. The door card is looking very nice. This is a 911, so we do get back seats, as microscopic as they are, and they definitely have a big hump in the center for that drive shaft. But the leather is looking nice. The back shelf is definitely showing its age, but I guess that's what 10 years does, setting out in the sun. As we get back to our steering wheel, we see we have the nice Porsche emblem in the center section, but we have a lot of cracking in that varnish on the wood parts of our steering wheel. So this is definitely not doing so well here, but again, this is not the car's biggest problem. Let's check out the frunk.
So let's take a look in the frunk. There's not much going on here. There's the spare tire. There's kind of a storage area. There's a new battery installed. Not much damaged up in here. There is some wiring issues all through here. that need repaired, and there's multiple other wiring issues. But let's go ahead and hop back there to the engine boot or trunk or whatever you want to call it. Here we have our flat 6 engine. And like I mentioned, it appears you could look in there and say, well, there's some hope here. It just needs a few things fixed and maybe it'll be back running again. One thing I like to see, it's not been cut up or modified or aftermarket intakes or anything like that. It's all stock, but there's nothing but bad news for this poor engine. So what's the story on this car? What's going on here? The story is 10 years ago, for whatever reason, I'm not sure what the thinking was, but the government seized this car from the owner. I don't know what it was related to or why, but they took it from him. It came to be that the customer found that their seizure was illegal. It was illegally done. Thanks, No Muffler Newton. Appreciate that. Anyways, 10 years of fighting and hiring attorneys and going through the court system. I mentioned to you guys how court things can get drawn out and drawn out and drawn out for years and thousands of dollars. The customer finally won and got his car back after 10 years and told the government to get his car to a shop and fix the things, which weren't that very much wrong at that point. It was running a little rough and needed the top fixed. It worked. And again, I want to express to you, everything worked before the government seized it. I don't know if it was a state government or a county or what it was. I don't know the details there. But when it was received back, it wasn't running very well, and like I said, this whole situation was broken. It must have happened somewhere during the custody of the government while they had it in some yard somewhere. They sent it to a shop out in the middle of boondocks, in the middle of nowhere, that knows absolutely nothing about Porsches. And that shop took whatever was wrong with this car and amplified it and made it ruined. I mean, they absolutely trashed this car. So, let's get this thing on a lift, take a look underneath, and then I'll get Danielson out here. We're going to show you the carnage. It's pretty bad. So as we go along underneath this 911, it's going to look promising until we get to the back. Let's go ahead and start at the front. Up here is just our frunk. We do have radiators on either side with fans. I don't see anything leaking out of those. It seems okay. Same story over here. We'll go ahead and check our wheels. The brakes look good. The pads are nice and thick. The strut is not blown. Sway bar link is good. Looks like it's about the same story over here. Looks like someone put new brake rotors on the front recently and pads. That looks good there. I do smell a little bit of old gas under here, and the fuel tank is in this area. It's set for 10 years, guys. Remember that. Even if you put fresh gas in it, there's going to be residue and sludge from the old gas all through the fuel system, which means the whole fuel system would have to be replaced. Fuel injectors, fuel pressure regulator, anything that had diaphragms or rubber or seals or anything like that is going to be bad, including the fuel pump. As we come back to here, you can see there's tons of undershields. It goes all the way to the back. We arrive to the transaxle, which on a Boxster, like Mrs. Wizard's Boxster, the engine's right here. Almost like a mid-engine car. It's right here, the weight. No muffler Newton again. Appreciate that, thank you. But on a 911, the engine hangs off the back. You can see right here. And there is a big oil leak going on the engine, and you would think it could be valve cover gaskets or something like that, but the valve covers are right here. They're dry. That's not what it is. The issue here is whatever the last shop or the last mechanic worked on, I don't know what they did, but when you run this thing, it just pours oil out of it. And we'll talk more about that here in a minute. But let's check these wheels out and get this inspection done. Again, new rotors in the back, new pads. CV shafts look okay. Sway bar links are good. New brakes again. CV boots are good. Sway bar link is good. No serious issues going on there. So when this thing runs, it smokes like a freight train. It's bad. And it runs really rough. And before long, the oil pressure light comes on. Something is really, really wrong with this engine. Danielson pulled a couple of coil packs, pulled the spark plugs, and got the Techlong, the borescope camera, into there. And the news is really bad news. Let's get this thing back on the ground, and then Danielson can show you what we found. He has a recording of it. So what were the symptoms you looked at, Danielson, and kind of what did you find out?
Well, the first thing I noticed is every time I turned it on, it would smoke. It smoked a little bit, you know what I mean? And it was a little bad, but it got a little better after a while, after it kind of burned off all that oil that was sitting in the cylinders. And that from there, I was like, well, I know these engines kind of suffer from this scoring. And that was when I decided to pull the spark plugs and sneak a camera in there, a Porsche camera, to see inside.
And you actually have a recorded clip of what you found. Let's take a look at that.
Yes.
Well, that's a piece of metal right there.
Yeah.
Chunk of metal, and you can see these Wolverine stripes in the cylinder walls. Oh, wow.
And then just the oil sitting there.
That's a lot of oil.
Yeah, they're just sitting there. All of the other cylinders, because I was able to look at 3 here real quick, and I noticed that they weren't as bad as this one. And then this one, like I said, it had a chunk of metal. I looked in there, I couldn't really tell where it came from, but I'm assuming it's coming from the piston. It's just really hard to see because everything is black from carbon, so it's really hard to see exactly where it came from. But it's still in there.
That's definitely a chunk of metal. And you can see all the stripes and scrapes all in the cylinder wall. Wow, that's pretty deep. So we're kind of thinking that the mechanic they sent it to, this little rinky-dink shop, they might have ran it out of oil and ran the engine that way. They scored the cylinder walls up, possibly tore up the crank bearings and things. That's why, like, if it warms up, the oil pressure light comes on, huh?
Yeah, that's a really bad sign.
It is a really bad sign. And you mentioned, I showed it underneath a minute ago, it's just pouring oil out of the bottom.
It's been leaking for a very long time.
It's a bad, bad situation. All right, I'll let you get back to break, but that shows us that this engine is toast. All right, thanks, Danielson. So these engines can be rebuilt, but there's only one name in the industry's R&D engines. And they do specialize in like a core exchange program. And they also have used engines, but I looked on eBay. Let's just say we want to put a good used engine in that's in good shape, full deal, just swap it out, take the bad one out, put a new one in. Let me show you what that costs, just for the engine. That's not the 20 or 30 hours of pulling it all apart and all the labor. Everyone always forgets the labor. Let me show you what just the engine cost. $13,000. That's not for a reman. That's not for a new one. That's a good used one out of a salvage yard. I talked to Johnny, the car ninja, a few times, and kind of what's the going rate for a reman engine like at R&D. And he said 15, 20 grand. You send them your engine or whatever kind of a core exchange program. They sleeve it and do a lot of upgrades to kind of solve some of the problems here. 15 to 20 grand. Then we're going to add the labor. We're going to be at 25, 30 grand, somewhere around in there. Because you know, once you get the engine out, there's going to be other things you found. Oh, this isn't working. Oh, that's bad. Well, we can't put it back together like it is. And then we haven't driven it. We don't know if the transmission shifts well. We're not going to drive it in its current condition. What if it doesn't? Does the AC work? Does all the other things work? Now, the convertible top, you can see that the fabric is torn in several places. I got some quotes to just do the fabric alone is $3,000 to $5,000 to have a professional upholstery shop pull this all apart, do a whole new fabric and everything. The mechanism, I don't know who broke it or how it broke, but if you try to operate it, you can hear things crunching and breaking. The whole system needs to be replaced. Very easily $10,000 in the convertible top. That's on top of the 20 to 30 for the engine. And then it has lots of wiring harnesses and things we found that were cut. We think the previous shop, I don't know what they were trying to do, but there's a lot of harnesses that need to be either repaired or replaced. It could be $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 to go through, pull whole harnesses or pull interiors apart and try to trace all the cracked and broken wires. Easily $30,000, $40,000. I actually talked with Car Ninja about this, and he was like, yeah, what's the surprise here? This is the way these are. They're always so expensive. And I said, okay, I'm just checking to make sure I got my numbers right here. And also the last time I talked to Car Ninja, he said, no one fixes these engines for $2,000 or $3,000. He said, that doesn't exist. It's a lie. It's going to be stupid expensive. It's a Porsche. On top of all that, it has 155,000 miles on it. Who pays top dollar for a 911 with 155,000 miles on it?
Well, Hoovie did on Apollo 911, but it was even higher miles.
It was like 240,000 miles, and that engine didn't last much longer. If it was running and driving right now and the top work, maybe $20,000. In its current state, 10, 12, it's not worth a whole lot at all. It's a parts car right now. We contacted the customer and started listing all these costs, 10 and 20. As soon as we got to 30,000, he said, I don't need to hear anymore. He said, I'm done. I'm obviously not going to fix it at that cost. He said, I brought it to you just to get the news. Is it worth it or not? I now know it's absolutely not worth it. Through this being seized by the government and then going through some other shop somewhere else, they ruined, absolutely ruined this car. The customer was very clear. He's like, anything over 10 grand, I'm not interested. And I said, well, the engine alone is going to cost more than that. He goes, yeah, well, that's why I'm done. So we asked the customer, like, what are your plans here? Are you going to maybe take this shop to court or take the government to court? He said, I've been through this already. He said, I lost thousands in 10 years of my life. He said, I'm not interested in losing another 10 years of my life and thousands of attorney fees and court costs. He said, and it's still, I may not even get my money out of it. He said, I'm done. I give up. So you say in the comments, well, I'll take him to court. I'd sue him. He's done with that. He's already been through that. Don't even comment with that. He's been down that road already. So this car is going back to the customer. We're not going to do anything to it. I recommended not fixing anything because there's not a dime bit of worth of anything fixing anything on this car. As I mentioned a minute ago, it is now officially a parts car. That's all this is anymore. Even Danielson agreed. He goes, the only thing you can do with this car is start parting it out and try to recoup some of the losses. That's the only thing you can do. This would be a perfect car if you wanted to do like Apollo 911 and do an LS swap. Just yeet the old engine out and do something else. That's why Renegade's Hybrids exists, because when people get the estimate to repair their engine, they're like, oh, hell no. For half the cost, I can put an LS motor in it. That's just kind of the story of these Porsche 911s. So that's kind of the story of what happened to this. It's really kind of a sad, sad story. I hate to hear about it. Again, I don't know the details of why it was seized or what happened. Want to definitely get a video to you guys to show you how what once was a beautiful 911 convertible is now going, I don't know if it's going to go to the scrap heap or just going to be parted out, but it's a goner. If you're curious what kind of tools we use to take a look at this 911 or work any other car in the shop, check our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut if you purchase anything. We really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button because we are full in the shop right now. Tons of cars, which means tons more videos for you guys. Thanks for watching.